Please like the video and share it so that it reaches many more people and you get sawaba, or rewards from Allah. This could be a sawabe jariyah or continuous reward for you long after you are gone.
Volume 7, Book 65, number 314. Narrated by Ibn Abbas. My aunt presented roasted mastigas, tea and milk to the Prophet. The mastigas were put on his dining sheet, and if it was unlawful to eat, it would not have been put there. The Prophet drank the milk and ate the tea only. Volume 7, Book 65, number 315. Narrated by Sa'al bin Sa'd. We used to be happy on Fridays, for there was an old lady who used to pull out the roots of silk and put it in a cooking pot with some barley. When we had finished the prayer, we would visit her and she would present that dish before us. So we used to be happy on Fridays because of that, and we never used to take our meals or have a midday nap except after the Friday prayer. By Allah, that meal contained no fat. Volume 7, Book 65, number 316. Narrated by Ibn Abbas. The Prophet ate of the meat of a shoulder, by cutting the meat with his teeth, and then got up and offered the prayer without performing the ablution anew. Narrated Ibn Abbas. The Prophet took out a bone with meat on it from a cooking pot and ate of it, and then offered the prayer without performing ablution anew. Volume 7, Book 65, number 317. Narrated by Abu Qatada. We went out towards Mecca with the Prophet. Volume 7, Book 65, number 318. Narrated by Abu Qatada. Once, while I was sitting with the companions of the Prophet at a station on the road to Mecca, and Allah's apostle was stationing ahead of us, and all the people were assuming ihram while I was not. My companion saw an onager while I was busy mending my shoes. They did not inform me of the onager, but they wished that I would see it. Suddenly I looked and saw the onager, then I headed towards my horse, saddled it and rode, but I forgot to take the lash and the spear. So I said to them, my companions, give me the lash and the spear. But they said, no, by Allah we will not help you in any way to hunt it. I got angry, dismounted, took it the spear and the lash, rode, the horse chased the onager and wounded it, then I brought it when it had died. My companions started eating of its cooked meat, but they suspected that it might be unlawful to eat of its meat while they were in a state of ihram. Then I proceeded further and I kept one of its forelegs with me. When we met Allah's apostle, we asked him about that. He said, have you some of its meat with you? I gave him that foreleg and he ate the meat till he stripped the bone of its flesh, although he was in a state of ihram. Volume 7, Book 65, number 320. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet never criticized any food he was invited to, but he used to eat if he liked the food, and leave it if he disliked it. Volume 7, Book 65, number 321. Narrated by Abu Hazim that he asked Sa'al, did you use white flour during the lifetime of the Prophet? Sa'al replied, no. Hazim asked, did you use to sift barley flour? He said, no, but we used to blow off the husk of the barley. Volume 7, Book 65, number 322. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. Once the Prophet distributed dates among his companions and gave each one 7 dates. He gave me 7 dates too, one of which was dry and hard, but none of the other dates was more liked by me than that one, for it prolonged my chewing it. Volume 7, Book 65, number 323. Narrated by Sa'd. I was one of the first 7 who had embraced Islam with Allah's apostle, and we had nothing to eat then, except the leaves of the habala or habula tree, so that our stool used to be similar to that of sheep. Now the tribe of Bani Asad wants to teach me Islam. I would be a loser and all my efforts would be in vain if I learn Islam anew from them. Volume 7, Book 65, number 324. Narrated by Abu Hazim. I asked Sahl bin Sa'd, did Allah's apostle ever eat white flour? Sahl said, Allah's apostle never saw white flour since Allah sent him as an apostle till he took him unto him. I asked, did the people use sieves during the lifetime of Allah's apostle? Sahl said, Allah's apostle never used a sieve since Allah sent him as an apostle until he took him unto him. I said, how could you eat barley unsifted? He said, we used to grind it and then blow off its husk, and after the husk flew away, we used to prepare the dough, bake, and eat it. Volume 7, Book 65, number 325. Narrated by Abu Hurairah that he passed by a group of people in front of whom there was a roasted sheep. They invited him, but he refused to eat and said, Allah's apostle left this world without satisfying his hunger even with barley bread. Volume 7, Book 65, number 326. Narrated by Anas bin Malik. The Prophet never took his meals at a dining table, nor in small plates, and he never ate thin well-baked bread. The sub-narrator asked Qatada, over what did they use to take their meals? Qatada said, on leather dining sheets. Volume 7, Book 65, number 327. Narrated by Aisha. The family of Muhammad had not eaten wheat bread to their satisfaction for 3 consecutive days since his arrival at Medina till he died. Volume 7, Book 65, number 328. Narrated by Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, that whenever one of her relatives died, the women assembled and then dispersed, returned to their houses, except her relatives and close friends. She would order that a pot of talbina be cooked. Then tharad, a dish prepared from meat and bread, would be prepared and the talbina would be poured on it. Aisha would say to the women, eat of it, for I heard Allah's apostle saying, the talbina soothes the heart of the patient and relieves him from some of his sadness. Volume 7, Book 65, number 329. Narrated by Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. The Prophet said, many men reached perfection, but none among the women reached perfection except Mary, the daughter of Imran, and Asia, Pharaoh's wife. And the superiority of Aisha to other women is like the superiority of tharad to other kinds of food. Volume 7, Book 65, number 330. Narrated by Anas. The Prophet said, the superiority of Aisha to other women is like the superiority of tharad to other kinds of food. Volume 7, Book 65, number 331. Narrated by Anas. I went along with the Prophet to the house of a young tailor of his. The tailor presented a dish of tharad to the Prophet and resumed his work. The Prophet started picking the pieces of gourd and I too started picking them and putting it before him. Since then I have always loved to eat gourd. Volume 7, Book 65, number 332. Narrated by Qatada. We used to visit Anas bin Malik while his baker was standing and baking. Anas would say, eat, I do not know that the Prophet had ever seen well-baked bread till he met Allah, nor had he ever seen a roasted sheep with his own eyes. Volume 7, Book 65, number 333. Narrated by Amr bin Umayy ad-Damri. I saw Allah's Apostle cutting part of the shoulder of mutton with a knife. He ate of it and then was called for prayer, whereupon he got up and put down the knife and offered the prayer without performing new ablution.